Hello and welcome. I'm Ian Nguyen, and here's my presentation of my final portfolio for the unit SIT253 audio and visual production. The portfolio will show my process of developing my video game assets for my game, which is called Survival. Next, we'll come to the portfolio focus session for more details about my game concept. The game concept that I choose is a survival game that takes place in a medieval world. The player has to survive in an open world with various dangers of monsters while fighting food and building their own shelter. It can also develop into a co-op game so that we can play together. The game assets and environment will be in low poly style. My inspiration comes from days spent playing survival game with my friends. I found that playing the game when we can do anything such as crafting tools, weapons, and shelter is very interesting. And I'm also a big fan of the fantasy world, which have monsters and warriors from medieval time. Some games that I play get motivation from Don't Starve and Valheim. So for the visual assets, because the theme of the game is medieval, and a little bit dark fantasy. Therefore, I plan to create weapons and a human model with armor that fits with the theme. I also made a skeleton model as a monster of the game. For audio assets, I create the sound effects for actions of the players and also ambient and background musics. We go into details in the upcoming sessions. Next, I will introduce you to my mood board. Uh, this will show the team and the style that I going to create in my portfolio. So here's only the picture in my mood board. Next is my assets list and management. In here, as you can see, this portfolio include four visual assets, which are first is a warrior model, and the tools type of source, and finally is a skeleton models. Um, Moreover, we have 10 audio assets, which are for the sound effect. We have the mining sound, walking sound, fighting sound, picking item sound, and being hit sound. For ambient sound, we have green sound, cricket sound, and water run sound. And I also made two background musics in fighting stage and in normal stage. So you can read more about my assets in details in visual links or just by looking in those pictures. So here's we include some detailed information like the the files, the file size, the file name, and the duration of the sound. And here is my assets management. Next, we come to the developing process of the bold assets. And the documents that I provide here will shows the creations processes of all the assets in this folio. To provide more insight into the process, I will provide the detail about how I developed each asset from start to end. Here I will talk quickly about how I developed the assets in general. So here is my visual asset development document. In here I will provide in details about the process of how I develop each visual assets. So the first asset I want to introduce is the warrior model. This is the first asset that I created. At the beginning stage, I got the base map of the human from a third-party assessment called Polygon and create the armor around it. And here's the armor that I created by myself, which are the upper body armor, the arm armor, the lower body, and then here's a full armor a bit. So after create each components, I apply texture and material using mostly hand painting techniques after UV unwrapping the model. So here's all the texture in the wired model. And is the render results. And for the other model, I applied the same technique. However, this time I created them from scratch without any third-party access. So as you can see on the screen, so this is the first short model that I create, and this one is the type 2 of the saw, and the texture of the saw 2, and finally is the skeleton model, uh, which created in Scratch. I'll apply the same technique uh, for all of the 2D model here. So the next is my audio assets development documents. So after finishing on the visual assets, I did research toward learning how to develop in sound effect and audio in game. I focused the development on the sound effect that the player interacts with the world, the ambient sound, and the background music. I used my microphone on my headset to record most of the original sounds, then edited them in Audacity. For background music, I use an app called Music Maker Jam to create my own song for the game. And for more details of my developing process, please check out the two documents that's linking in the portfolio. And finally, here's my render results. In this session, this includes the wired model, the two type of source, and the skeleton model. And you can download all of the Blender file via this Google Drive link that I included here. And the next is audio assets. In here you can play it from right here because I already uploaded them to SoundCloud, but you can also download them and the original audio file by access to my Google Drive folder via this link. And this is my timeline for keep track of the progress. And finally, the portfolio is finished and includes all my planned assets, both audio and visual. I started the project slowly to plan and learn new techniques to create the assets. After the first folio submission, I speed up and was able to finish on time, which made me very happy since I have put a lot of efforts on this folio. During the developing process, I have learned a lot from both online tutorials and unit models about modeling, texturing, and many more techniques. The skills that I learned can not only be able to apply in Blender but also in any tools that are similar to it. On the other hand, there's still some aspects that I could improve more, such as UV and wrapping and applying different materials to the assets. I'm still a beginner at these techniques, and by doing this folio, I realize that I still have many things to learn. In conclusion, I'm happy that I choose this unit to be able to do a project that I always want to do for a long time. I have tried my best to create all the assets, and I'm very happy with the results. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.